Today I want to talk to you about my down and dirty model, the version of the economic model. I'm Matt Templeton. I own a real estate team in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I run the Keller Urban Dallas Market Center in Dallas, Texas. So the economic model is our Keller Williams model for planning out the activities we need to do to net the income we want to make. Now, I'm going to do a new agent kind of model. When I talk to new agents, almost every new agent says that they want to make six figures. So I say, okay, $100,000. So let's do the numbers, assuming you want to net $100,000. If you want to net $100,000 and you're a brand new agent, then you're going to pay us a split. If you hit $100,000, you've easily exceeded the $2.1 million in production to cap at our office. And what that cap looks like, with royalty to international and the company dollar commission to our office, that's $21,000. I kind of mark that up as an expense because you're going to pay it and you're going to end up getting 100% of your commissions after a certain point in this year, this theoretical year. So we've got $21,000 there. And then you're probably going to have some other expenses, like your licensing costs and your realtor dues and your marketing to people that you know and giving gifts to clients and other things that just cost you in the course of business. Let's assume that you're costing your first year around $10,000. That would mean that you need $131,000 in gross commission income, GCI. Now, $131,000, I'm going to pull out the calculator, $131,000 at an average commission of 3%, which I don't know if that's your average commission, but I'm just using kind of a number that we hear a lot in the marketplace, is about $4.4 million. Now, let's say that your average price for that $4.4 million of sales was $250,000, okay? That would mean that you need to have about 17.5, I'm going to round up to 18 closings in order to get there. That was a $250,000 average price. Now, for the sake of these numbers, I'm not going to include any lease money. You may make money off leases. We're just going to focus on listings and buyers. And when you're brand new, you're going to end up probably focusing more on buyers because that's just how people tend to lean. But I want you to have a 50-50 business, half of your business coming from listings and half of your business coming from buyers. We really want to focus on getting those listings because it generates those buyer leads for us. So let's presume that you've got a 50% listing business and a 50% buyer business. When we talk about 18 closings, that's 9 on each side, correct? 9 on each side, closings. But even in this good market, to get to 9 closings, you're going to have to put some pending that fall out. Maybe the buyer ends up not being able to qualify, or the appraisal doesn't come in, or the inspection is bad. So let's just plan for like 10 to 15% fallout. So I'm going to add 1 here on each side, just to plan for the pendings that we get that don't end up going to closing. Now, before you're going to get a pending, you got to have clients that have agreed to work with you, right? So in order for us to get to pendings, we got to have listings taken or agency agreements. Maybe you're in a non-agency state. Texas is agency. You might have a buyer broker or a loyalty agreement with your buyer. Either way, you've got clients to commit to working with you. So we've got listings taken or buyer agency. I'm going to call them agency agreements. Now, on the listing side, right now, to get from listing to pending is high because the market is good and houses are selling. About 80% of the time, listings go pending. Now, the reason they don't is because sellers overprice their listing, or they're not willing to make fixes that are necessary, or maybe the seller's just unreasonable. In that case, you may have some fallout. But let's plan that you're going to be able to sell about 80% of the listings that you take. So if we have 10 pendings we need, and we divide by 0.8, 80%, we're going to need about 12.5, so 13 listings taken. And on the pending side, or on the buyer side, it's actually a little bit worse. Buyers tend to be a little bit more flaky. Maybe they even go buy a car while they're looking at properties to buy, and then they can't qualify. I've had that happen to me, and it sucks. Or maybe the buyer just flakes out. Or maybe the market's so hot that they just can't seem to get off the fence. So let's plan that only 60% of the buyers that agree to work with you, end up going pending. Divide by 10, divide by 0.6, and we get 17 when I round up, number of buyers that we need agency agreements with. Now, in order for you to get listings and buyer agency agreements, you're going to have to go on appointments and consultations. Now, this is first-time appointments, not all those follow-up showing appointments you have with those buyers that want to see houses every weekend. We're talking about first-time appointments. So we got appointments and consults. Now, the reason I say consults on this side is because we want to sit down and have a buyer consultation before we show homes to the buyer, to set expectations, to explain to them how the process works, to explain to them how we work and how we get paid. And on the listing appointment side, we're going to have to explain our marketing strategy and what we think the pricing is, and explain to them why they should choose us to sell their home. So there's going to be these listing appointments and buyer consultations. Let's say we've got 13 listings we're going to take, and let's say that you're brand new. When you're brand new, you're going to rush over to every listing you get because you're going to forget to pre-qualify them. And you're going to get there and you're going to ask them, well, when do you want to sell? And they're going to say, well, next year. And you're going to say, why did I do all this preparation? And why did I even come here if you're not ready to sell for a year? So some of the appointments you go on may not turn into listings right away. We're going to get that bottleneck down to a science so that we convert better. But let's plan for the worst right now just so we kind of know what to expect. Early on, it may be a 50% conversion. It may be you go on an appointment and only half the time do they choose to list with you. It may be that you go on an appointment and they choose somebody else, or that they decide that they're not ready to sell, or that they're not reasonable. So that's okay. Those things happen. We'll get better at that skill over time, but let's plan for the worst. So a 50% conversion rate means, of course, that you need 26 appointments on the listing side. And let's plan for a similar conversion on the buyer side. Let's say that half the time you talk to a buyer and you talk to them about consultation, only half the time do they decide to sign an agency agreement with you. That would mean that you've got 34 consultations on the buyer side. Now, real fast, we can add that up, and we've just now found our first activity that we can focus on, because trying to conjure up closings, it's kind of hard, right? I mean, do you know how to make a closing happen out of thin air? Me neither. We got to start with the things that lead to closings, and that first thing is going on and setting appointments, in my opinion. So what we've got here is 60 appointments that we need to go on in a year in order for us to achieve our goal of 18 closings, right? Now, 60 appointments, if we did those in the 12th month of our year, we'd end up doing business for next year, because it's gonna take a little while to move up the chain, right? So we need to do 60 appointments in like a 10-month cycle. We need to kind of front load the goal so that those appointments will fall out into closings in the 11th and 12th month. So if we divide this by 10, we get 6 appointments a month we need to go on. And that's the thing you need to shoot for on appointments that you go on. Even with bad conversions, if you go on 6 appointments a month, you're going to hit your big goal of $100,000 in net income in your first year. Okay? So that's our goal here. Now, in order for us to get these appointments, we're going to have leads or nurtures that we talk to, and we recognize are people that have raised their hand and are interested in buying or selling in the next year. Now, a lead may be someone that's ready to do business in the next 2 to 4 weeks. And a nurture may be someone who's ready to do business in the next 12 months. And so as we kind of collect these people, we'll have people to follow up with. But maybe of the leads and nurtures that we follow up with or talk to, only 1 in 10, maybe they're bad leads, or maybe they're leads from an open house or something that isn't from our, maybe we just don't know why the conversion's low. But let's say that we're kind of averaging the conversion at 1 in 10 leads go to an appointment. So that would mean we need 260 leads and 340 buyer leads, okay, on each side. Now we know how many people we need to at least raise their hand. That way, if we talk to people and they don't end up working out with us, we can still track them down on our sheet and know, well, I talked to one more person today that might be thinking about buying or selling them next year. Of course, follow up with them, and you may be converting at a higher rate than 1 in 10, but at least you've got something to track for. Over time, you'll start tracking your numbers so that you have the conversions yourself, and your numbers will be more true. Maybe it only takes you 10 leads to get to a closing. That would be incredible, right? Or maybe you're in a situation where it takes a lot of effort to get there. Either way, know your numbers, and that way you can backtrack into what you need to do in order to hit your goal. Now, the last thing we need to focus on if we're going from leads and nurtures is contacts. Now, on my conversions for contacts to leads and leads to appointments, I'm kind of using a general number when I say 10 to 1 here, and I'm going to say 10 to 1 under contacts as well. It may be worse, it may be better, but let's say that it takes you 10 contacts before someone raises their hand and says that they are interested in buying or selling. And then of those people, you have to get 10 of those before one of them says they're willing to go on an appointment with you. That would mean you're making 100 contacts for 1 appointment. Hopefully, your conversions are much better than that. But let's plan for the worst so that we know the worst case scenario. Okay, so if we're doing 10 to 1, that would mean we need 2,600 contacts on this side and 3,400 contacts on this side. That means you need 6,000 contacts in a year in order to hit your goal. That would be 150 contacts a week. Now, as you get better at your conversions and as you do this more, these numbers improve quickly. This is like worst case, right? This is the numbers when you're brand new and you're falling on your face in presentations, or when you're calling people and you don't know what to say. But as you keep doing it, you get really good at this and you start learning some of the scripts to say things that actually cause people to convert. So this number may get to a point where you can make $100,000 and only call 50 people a week. But let's say you spend your first few weeks calling 150 contacts a week, and you start to see the momentum start to turn, and all of a sudden you've got an appointment or two. Our goal at Keller Williams is, if you're brand new, that you get into production within the first 30 days. And I'm thrilled to say that I have 4 people that I've recently recruited in the last 2 weeks that have already either written a contract or taken a listing. And that's what it's about, to start that momentum right away by doing the activities that equal the goal. This part is boring. The contacts, getting into the lead generation every single day. The part that's not boring is making your net income. And if you focused on this for the entire 10 months, I can almost guarantee your net income is going to be even larger. One last thing that I want to tell you is, understand that 150 contacts is going to take a while to do, okay? You may spend 15 to 20 hours a week on that. And that's why we say it's hard to be part-time in real estate, because it takes a lot of time just to generate the business, let alone take care of and customer service the business, right? But if you were to spend 15 to 20 hours a week making these contacts, that may sound boring. Again, your net income's not boring. Thank you again for listening, and I hope this was helpful to backtrack down to the activities that equal your goal, and I can't wait to see you succeed in your first year. Thanks for listening.